welcome to a podcast. With us today we have Ann Bagby. She's going to be exhibiting at the Crary Art Gallery from November 6th through December 3rd. Welcome to the gallery.
Thank you.
And I'm looking at your work, and it seems that you've certainly found a unique niche. How do you come about to have this style and what you do?
Well, I really like experimental work. I like trying different things, new surfaces and new paints. But I think a core interest I have is in pattern and surface, and I think that sort of connects all the pieces. And the fact that they're all 12 by 12. It's a nice size for getting an overview, for seeing a lot of pictures at once. Mm-hmm. And they all kind of relate together. It seems strange when I just take one out, because they all have kind of a life with their partners, with the other paintings.
Uh-huh. So it's a progression with your work. They're all related
yes,
to one another.
It's something like a journal, in that whatever you're doing at the time will show up in the work. And whatever you're thinking about, what someone says to you or what you see, it all kind of filters into the work in small ways, so that, and you progress that way. You do one painting and say, oh, would it be good if I had done something else? And so then you move on to another painting, and so that they'll be related.
Can you describe?
That's what I hope to show in the paintings that I picked to talk about today were ones that kind of related, and one painting led to another.
Oh, okay. So we'll get into that when we actually go through the individual painting reviews. That's cool. Can you actually describe your work to me? I haven't seen it live yet. I'm just seeing the images. I mean, what exactly is it? I mean, you have a lot of tight patterns there.
They're 12 by 12, and they're on panels, so that there's no glass or frame to interfere with the paintings, and they're all fairly small in that sense. Mm-hmm. And all exactly the same size.
So you're working with oil-based paints and?
No, they're acrylic. And all the patterns are done either by hand or stamps or stencils that I've cut.
Okay. So what do? You start with a pattern first, and you work in the painting, or how?
I usually start with the image first, but I can go both ways, and sometimes I'll have a whole panel just covered with pattern and find the image in it, and sometimes I do the image and add the pattern.
Oh, that's unique.
There's no set way of doing it. If you did it the same way all the time, it would get really boring, so it's fun to try different things.
Right, and do you have the color picked out as well in terms of how you want to work the image?
Yes, they're all orange and green. I mean, some of them aren't orange and green, but those are connecting colors. There's a lot of orange and green in this show. Mm-hmm. I just started out doing those colors, and I thought, well, when I get tired of them, I'll switch. And it's still a lot to work with in that, so they're still stuck in that color field.
Uh-huh. How long have you been an artist?
Well, that's a long time. For the last 20 years, 25 years, I've had a studio outside the home. I go to every day.
Oh, okay.
But I painted before that, in the back bedroom sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm. Were you inspired by a particular artist, or were you trained, or is this something you just sort of learned on your own?
Well, as a young person, I was inspired by Van Gogh, and I think a lot of people, especially in my generation, have been inspired by him. It seemed like someone who really expressed emotions that we all had, and it took me a long time to kind of tone down my colors because his golds and greens and all influenced me. So it's kind of, you fight that kind of influence, but he got me started.
So your earlier work is much brighter, is what you're saying, more bold?
Mm-hmm. But, if you're really bright and you also have all that pattern and you have a subject matter, that's an awful lot to put on a 12 by 12 inch piece. And so I found that my paintings worked better if I got the colors just a little bit toned down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now, do you typically arrange your work in collections?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have a homosode on my walls in my studio, and so they're hung as I work on them in a group of 20. They have to look good by themselves, but they also have to fit into the group.
And I see that a lot of the images have obviously figures and faces. Mm-hmm. So what inspires those individual figures?
This particular group, most of the ones they have shown you, were inspired by a still life with a mannequin, because I felt like the mannequin was the figure, but the still life was kind of my past. That's how I started, and combining the two seemed like an interesting idea. And I started out with, having the whole like a landscape with all the figures. And then as I progressed, the mannequin became more and more important until that's all there was on the page or on the panel. And I have 3-4 faces there that, you just add more and more things to them. You just have them up on the wall and kind of layer and layer, glazes and paint out and paint in, and you put something on. And I heard this is a word I learned yesterday. You decollage, where you take things off your collage.
Oh, there we go. That's what I was going to ask you. At what point do you know when your work is complete?
I don't always know, but and when it comes back from a show, a lot of times I say, oh, I wish that were green, and off you go again. And any ones I don't choose for a particular show are left behind, and those always get worked on some more.
So once you take it to show, do you ever go back and retouch it, or you just start new work as part of your...
No, I paint and paint until they're sold. Can't seem to stop myself.
How long does it take you to...
Something's really done, I think, oh, that one's really done, and I won't do anything more to it. And when I move on very far away from that picture, I won't go back. But as long as I'm still thinking of those ideas and those images, then I keep on layering.
I'm curious. I mean, if you have an element from a painting, how long does those elements carry over to the future paintings? Is it just a matter of 2 or 3, or does it keep going?
Oh, sometimes a year later, a year and a half later. You can't predict. And sometimes you go, it's a false start. You'll maybe do 2 pictures like that and say, no, you pull back. And you still keep those 2 pictures in the collection, but they don't progress to anything else.
How would you like the viewers of your work to... would you like for them to take away from viewing your work, I guess is the best question I can ask.
Well, I like it when people think they look like they're fun, that they would like to do it. I don't, maybe that's not the effect you want to have, but that's what I like that when people say, oh, when I saw your work, I thought, well, I could do that. And I kind of like that. I mean, it's, I like that people see it from a distance. They see the whole group, and then they come in really close. I like that too, and then maybe when they go, I say, oh, well, I really like the dog, or I really like the teapot, or whatever one they like, and respond that way to me. I really enjoy hearing that kind of thing. And I'm always surprised which ones people like. The ones, my babies, the ones that I really like, are generally not the ones that the other people like as much.
Interesting. So for future artists looking at your work, what words of wisdom would you provide to them?
Well, I think that you keep going till it looks good. And if you keep on going, eventually it'll look good. If you quit because you're afraid you're going to ruin it, that's not good. And I do ruin a lot of my pictures. Every once in a while I'll have one that looked pretty good and I mess with it and it doesn't. But if you keep on going, you can generally pull something out. I think a lot of artists, young artists especially, quit too soon. They get some little something in the picture they like and quit. And I think, you need more layers. You need to push it on until it's unique. And my favorite of my pictures are always ones that I've worked on a long time. Oh,
nice. And we have some of those at the gallery, I'm certain.
Yes, we have a bunch that you'll recognize.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the work, and certainly the people that come to see your exhibit are going to be seeing something special, and we look forward to opening.
So I'm real pleased to be showing in the gallery.
All right. Well, thanks for our chat, and we'll look forward to your exhibit.
Thank you. I started out with a panel that was covered with all types of printed paper that I had printed myself with acrylic on tissue paper, on archival tissue paper. And then I drew with a Prismacolor pen the still life with the mannequin, and then began to paint out the different patterns. And so most of the top layer is painting, and the collage is on the bottom of the work. Mm-hmm. Tell that it's also a still life with a mannequin, but the mannequin's getting more important, and it looks less like a real wooden mannequin and more like a figure. And this one was one of the few in the show that's completely painted. There's except for my signature on the right-hand corner, there's no collage. And I used masks to do the printing, the pattern on it. Uh-huh. The pattern on the mannequin is done with a ruling pen and with acrylic. Everything in here is acrylic. Third one is part of the same series, but the figure has left the still life and has become the whole picture. Mm-hmm. And this picture, the background is the panel, once again, was collaged completely with print and paper. If you've seen my video, I did this background paper on the video and added the figure using a stencil and paint out. I painted out around the figure. Once again, we're working with the mannequin as a figure. Number 4 is the last painting from this series of the mannequin as a still life. And in this one, the still life has completely disappeared, and the mannequin stands alone. And it's still a still life because a mannequin is an object rather than a figure. But it's the kind of not crossed the line on here. He's doing things that a mannequin couldn't really do. He's a lot more articulated than a mannequin would be, and yet he's painted like a mannequin. And this was a progression from the first still life with a mannequin in it to the picture of just the mannequin by itself. Mm-hmm. This is a series of paintings that I did from drawings and using a transfer method. I started out transferring this drawing, and I did it twice. This drawing and another number 6, or the orange figure, are both done from the same drawing, and I took it in different directions. I glazed the whole thing with color and then painted out with pastel colors and stamped and collaged and had fun with both of them. This painting is done from a transfer, from a drawing that I had done, and I have 2 pictures in this show done from this same drawing. I was just testing out this technique, and I did put the drawing down and then tried different ways of painting it. And the other painting is also in this show. It is the head with the orange and the buttons and the purple. I glazed the drawing with bright colors and then painted out areas with more pastel opaque paint, and then stamped around the edges and just played with it a while. The orange picture, if we go look for that one, I took it a little further as far as adding objects and kept on layering buttons and things like that. But you can see they're both from the same drawing.
Sure.
Okay. Number 6 is one of the paintings that started out from the very beginning of this series of 12 by 12. It was one of the very first panels I did, and it started out with just a drawing of a head. And I have worked on it every time I've shown it. I've put on another layer and glazed it and added a few more things to it. And so it is now quite thoroughly covered with collage and assemblage and things that I've put on it. And I kept it in the show because way back when it first started, I showed it to one of my workshops, and they really liked it. So I kept thinking, well, there must be something in this one, and I kept working on it. And I've gotten now to the point where I think it's finished, and I really kind of like it since I've lived with it a long time. Mm-hmm. The white collage with the frame around it, it started sort of the same way. I was asked by a magazine if I would do with a group of artists, we all would do one of the queens. And so I didn't know quite what I wanted to do, so I did several starts, and this was one of them. And it started out with just the panel, and then I started adding more things, and then I started taking the stuff off, and then I painted over all of it, and then I covered it all with collage, and then I put some of it off. Anyway, I kept on working on it for a very long time, and then I read somewhere that you could cut a hole in the panels and make a frame, and so I did that. So it's just really evolved over a long period of time until all of a sudden I thought, well, this has just got about as much on it as 12 by 12 inch picture can take, and I quit. Mm-hmm. I wanted to end with this picture that's got the face cut in half, number 8. This painting I thought might be a good one to show how some of the paintings have evolved. There's very little collage in this, as much or less collage than just straight painting. I started out with the painting of a head of a man, realistic. And then I painted over that and added the mask. And you can see that it was started out as a black man, and then it ended up into sort of a white clown. And then I cut the whole thing in pieces and collaged it onto the panel, so that it's come a long way from what it started out as. And it seemed to work when it was finished. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I like that piece as well. It's nice.